Hey friends, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin and I'm so excited that you decided to take time out of your day to spend with me because today we will be wrapping up my September and October reading. I read some pretty good books, had some bangers and had some misses too. So let's just go ahead and hop in and talk about what your girl read for the past 2 months. As always, we are going to start with our DNFs and work our way up to the 5 stars so that we end on a positive note. And unfortunately, we have 3 DNFs to talk about. So the first one is going to be Terror at the Gates by Scarlett St. Clair. I ended up DNFing this book about 57% in. And look, y'all, I was skeptical about this book from jump, which is why I didn't like pre-order it or buy it or anything. I waited until I could get it from the library, and I'm glad that I did because, I couldn't make it through it, and what a waste it would have been to have bought this book only to realize that my instincts were right and it just wasn't for me. And so, yeah, that was kind of disappointing. But Scarlett St. Clair has been hit or miss with me. I think the only series that I've continued and finished was the Hades and Persephone series. I read King of Battle and Blood or whatever that was. It was all right, but not enough to make me continue on with that series. And now this is the same as well. So, I'm gonna keep trying because I did really enjoy the Hades and Persephone series, but this one is just not gonna be for me. The next DNF that I have is unfortunately The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is like a cozy sci-fi found family in space type situation, and I just heard such great things about this book and about this series, but I ended up DNFing it about 55 pages in. Unfortunately, I just found that I couldn't really make myself care about what was going on in this book, and I really tried, but between like all the terminology being thrown out and just like I don't know. I just couldn't make myself care about the characters and what was going on. And I decided not to force myself to read this book and I set it down. And that's okay. I'm still going to be trying out different sci fi books and figuring out what my taste is within that genre. But this one is just going to be a no for me. My last DNF is going to be Murder Your Employer by Rupert Holmes. And this is like a mystery thriller, kind of on the humorous side, dark academia as well. And basically, you go to this school to learn how to murder people, mainly your employers. And while I thought that the style of this was written really uniquely and I was a fan of the humor and kind of how it was told, I just found myself not wanting to pick it up, not really caring how the story was going to end. I just didn't feel like enough was going on for me to like really be like interested or like hooked. I DNF this about 20% in, and that was about like 70-80 pages, so I gave it a good shot. I just it's entirely too long for me to not be. It's not even 400 pages, so that's dramatic, but like there's a lot. I don't know if you can see. There's a lot of words on each page, and so I wasn't invested enough to want to finish it out, and that's what happened. So yeah, moving on to 2 stars, and luckily we only have one 2-star book for September and October, and that is Just the Tipsy by Audrey Vaughn. This is the second book in the Stryker Families series. It's like a series of companion novels where we're following these brothers, and it's a romance series. And look, I knew not to take this book too seriously just by the title. I was like, whatever. But I was just looking for something fun and something cute, and I guess this gave that at times, but it's not something that I'm going to recommend, and I really don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. But yeah, it's a fake dating, small town. The love interest is a veterinarian. That type situation. I just if look it up, friend, and give it a shot if you want to, but don't do it off. I'm not telling you to go do it. Okay. Moving on. Let's move into the 3 stars. And the first one, I did not realize was not in the room with me. But am I going to get up to go get it? No, friend. I'm just going to have to pop up the little picture for you because I don't feel like moving right now. And that is Where Shadows Meet by Patrice Caldwell. This is a young adult fantasy book where we have sapphic vampire lore going on. There's 2 storylines and 2 timelines, and they converge into one big overarching story. And for a second there, I was like, how is this supposed to connect? But then when it hits, it's literally like, oh, I get what you did. For me, what happened is this story is so heartbreaking. We have like 4 main characters, and each one of them has a very heartbreaking, sad life story. And, I just feel like this was not the right time for me to read this book. And if I was to revisit it in a better headspace, I think I would like it more. And also, this was, I feel like the marketing on this one was just a little off. I'm pretty sure it was marketed as like a romantasy type situation. And when I hear romantasy, my brain goes to a certain type of book. And this wasn't that type of book. I think if anything, it should have just been marketed as like a straight fantasy. Because although the romance plays a big part in the story, it's not overly romantic, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. I tried to explain it the best way I could, but yeah, this was good. Like I said, I think if I decide to reread this, probably I will before the sequel comes out. I think I will have adjusted my expectations enough to enjoy it more than I did on this first read, but it was still very good. Looking forward to whatever Patrice Caldwell writes in the future because I had a good time. The next 3 star on my list is going to be Wishful Thinking by Celestine Martin. This is the first book in the Elemental Love series. I think that's what it's called. And this is a paranormal romance between a witch and a merman. And I just thought it was really cute. There's a small town, cozy feel. I think this is a great transitional book from summer to fall. I had a few issues with just some of the characters and felt like some things that needed to be explained wasn't. And so that's why this is 3 stars. But it was still a good time. I had a fun time with it. I will be recommending this going forward. And yeah, I definitely think that you should pick this up and give it a shot if it sounds interesting to you. And my last 3 star in this wrap up is going to be the Cinnamon Spice Inn. And this is a cute fall cozy read, small town vibes. It was also a second chance romance, so I was very skeptical about this book going into it because y'all know how I feel about second chances. And so I think that kind of is what brought this down to a 3 star for me because I just feel like this relationship, we didn't even like the problems that they had was supposedly solved in one conversation, which just did not make sense to me. And then there were still back and forth with that. And, yeah, but I do think it is a very autumnal read. Like you will get all the fall cozy vibes as you read this book. And, it was just like a warm hug, a warm cup of hot apples. I said a warm cup of hot. That's very redundant, but anyway, a cup of hot cider, like all the things. It's very easy to read. Kind of flew through it, and I think you will have a fun time with it if you decide to pick it up. And you will probably like it better than I did if you are a fan of second chance romance. Let's move into the 3.5 stars for September and October. The first one is going to be There's Pumpkin About You. And this is another cute fall-ish romance book. This one follows Ren, who is a party planner, and she teams up with this man who owns like this pumpkin farm to, better both of their businesses. And this one does not give off as much fall as you would think. Even though it's like on a pumpkin farm in the small town, it just was missing a little bit of that fall vibe to me. Like, it's fall, but it's not giving that good cozy fall feeling. So if you're looking for something that's like not overly throwing up fall in your face, then I think this one would work for you. This one is kind of like I don't know that I wouldn't call it hate to love, but they definitely have some beef at the beginning and they do a whole lot of arguing. And at a certain point, I'm just like, y'all too grown to be arguing like this. Y'all are arguing like teenagers or like, and look, I'm over it. Like, just stop. Just stop already. And yeah, so, and I don't know. It was cute. It was fun. It wasn't anything like overly special to me, which is why it ended up getting a 3.5 star. But I would recommend, and I do think that you could have a great time reading this book. My next 3.5 star is going to be a reread that I did in September, and that's going to be Lore of the Wilds by Annalisa Brana. I wanted to reread this book because Lore of the Tides came out, and I just wanted to be refreshed on what happened in this book because I couldn't remember. And this gives all the cottagecore vibes and library setting, light academia, if you will. There is a love triangle. It is not obvious by the cover, but I had a good time reading this. My feelings mostly stayed the same about this book, and my rating did not change. I rated it a 3.5 the first time I read it, and it was a 3.5 the second time around. I do think that this is a good uh a good entrance into romantasy if you're trying to get into the genre and you've never really done that before. There's a lot of important conversations had, commentary in this book, and I had a good time with it. And I will definitely be recommending this going forward. I've already been recommending. What do I mean? I've read this before. Anyway, yes, Lord of the Wilds, good time had the second time around. This 3.5 category is going to be a big one, so we have quite a few more to get through. Let's talk about Deja Brew. This is the third book in the Elemental Love series by Celestine Martin. This one screams, throws up, fall in the best way possible. We're following Serena and Gus. Serena is a witch and Gus is a magician, which was a very interesting, twist for me. Never read about a magician in this way before, but we're in the same cozy small town. Gus is like a nerd in sweaters and surrounded by history and books and things, and that's just like my vibe. And Serena is a chef who has been struggling lately and is trying to get her stuff back together. She's a kitchen witch, and so it was just a really fun, cozy time. And I had a great time reading this book. I think that Serena and Gus had great chemistry from jump. And there's a little twist to this that I was confused about at first, but once it was like fully explained, I was like, oh, why is this not in the synopsis? Because the words, the synopsis made it seem like it was going to be a second chance, but that is technically the case, but not there's layers to it. I'm going to say it that way. The next 3.5 star is I Accidentally Hired a Shadow Walker by Jessica Cage. And I think this is the third book in the Accidents Happen series. And one thing about this book in this series and Jessica Cage's writing, like, she is going to make you think WTF in the best way possible. Like, you're like, what am I actually reading? But like, I'm having the time of my life reading it. I'm giggling, I'm laughing. The start of these books, wild in the best way. The shadow, the shadow daddies, are they a little overdone at this point? Maybe, but am I still going to enjoy it every time I read it? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so this one, the ending, she's setting us up, and I really need to know where she is taking this series, because even though I think you can kind of read these separately, if you read them all in order, it kind of follows, you just get the best experience, I think, if you read them all in order. And I am going to continue to pick this up, and I kind of want to dip into other books that Jessica Cage has written, because I always have a good time when I pick up her books. And yeah, the next 3.5 star for me is going to be Blood Moon by Brittany S. Lewis. This book has been all over social media, so I don't even think I really have to go into telling you what this is about. But I will say, This is extremely YA. This is a YA book, and I do not fault books for being what they are supposed to be. This is a YA book. This is for a YA audience. I am not that YA audience, so I did not fault it for that. But I just want you to know that if you're deciding to pick this up, it is YA. It reads very well. Like, I can imagine myself picking this up as a teenager and like having the same feelings that I felt when I was reading through the Twilight series. Like, yeah. And my issue, I guess I could say, was with the marketing as well for this book, because, and it was the author telling us the story. She said she wrote this book because, she hated basically how Bonnie Bennett from The Vampire Diaries was done bad, and she wanted her to have like a good story, and also a team Jacob from Twilight story as well. So it was like a melding between Twilight and The Vampire Diaries. And my thing is, if you tell me you base this off Bonnie Bennett, I'm expecting a witch, right? Because Bonnie Bennett was a witch. No witches, none. But the werewolf situation, it was it it was fine. I feel like this gives more Twilight than it does the Vampire Diaries, and but you can kind of see the influences here and there. There are like direct comparisons to scenes. Like, if you've read or watched the Twilight movies or Vampire Diaries, you'll be like, yeah, I can tell that Brittany S. Lewis also was a fan, like a true fan of both of these series. So, yeah, I don't know if anything that I said makes sense, but it definitely feels like you're watching a CW show. So, whether that's a good thing for you or a bad thing, that's knowledge that you now have. And the last 3.5 star we have is Falling by Christina Lauren. This is an Amazon short situation that's on Kindle Unlimited, and the audiobooks are on Audible. Um, but if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can listen to it for free through Audible, because sometimes they have the audiobooks, whatever. Anyway, this was very short, like less than 100 pages, so there's not a lot that I can tell you about this. I wish that it was longer. Shockingly enough, I wish it was longer. I liked the creature that was featured. I liked where the story was going. It was very interesting to me, and I was here for it. But the next thing you know, it was ending, and I'm like, I need more. Like, that's it. No, don't do that to me. Like, we needed more time with these characters, and I wish that they would take this story and expand it into an actual book, because they were onto something with this, and I had a fun time. Moving on to our 4 stars, I'm going to start with Serpentine Valentine by Gianna Darling, and this is a dark academia, dark romance situation. And my first thing that I want to say about this book is, please check content and trigger warnings before you decide to read this book. Like, please, it's it it's a hard read. It's a hard read, but it was worth it. It talks about sexual assault on a college campus. Our main character was assaulted by a professor, and so know that going in. Make sure you do your extra research on it. This was a hard read. It was heartbreaking. The writing was beautiful, but also heartbreaking, and I am happy that I read it, because I feel like sometimes we need to read things that make us uncomfortable in that way, just to check our humanities, and to realize that things like this do happen. And yeah, yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else to say, but I thought that this was a good book, and I'm glad that I decided to pick it up and decided to press through the uncomfortable, hard, heartbreaking moments, because for me, it was well worth it in the end. And this was, again, beautiful story, in my opinion. Dang, I did it again. I didn't exactly really prepare for this like I should have, because there's another book that I left in another room. So I'm gonna have to put up the picture again. And that is Lore of the Tides by Annalisa Brana. And I like this one marginally more than Lord of the Wild. I think it's honestly just because of the love interest, and it was the person that I picked from the first book. So, you just kind of enjoy that a little more. I was very interested to see where the author was going to take this underwater situation, because I'm like, how we gonna go underwater? Like, how is this gonna make sense? But it actually made sense, and the ending was really just what I needed it to be. And there was a lot of twists and turns in this that I was not expecting. And yeah, I had a fun time reading this. Yeah. So I don't really have a lot to say. It's a sequel. I don't want to give away too much. But yeah, I do think that I liked this one, just a little bit more than the first one. But overall, the duology as a whole, being Annalise Brunner's debut, sis did what needed to be done. And yeah, happy to have finished off that series. Next, we have Best Hex Ever. And this is actually a good transitional book from fall into winter. And so if you're looking for that, definitely pick this up. I had such a fun time with this. Is it a little corny, cringy? Yes, but I don't mind that all the time. Sometimes I kind of need that just to, spark a little joy, if you will. But our main character owns a coffee shop and she bakes sweets, and it literally just feels like a warm hug reading this. I was very surprised about the commentary on museums and the thief of things that need the theft, my bad, I called it and fixed it, the theft of things that need to be returned to their people. There was some good conversations about that. And yeah, I had a fun time reading this. I think that's all I have to say. I feel like I would have rated this higher, but the whole hex situation of it all, I just didn't enjoy how that ended, and it definitely brought it down for me, because I probably would have given this like a 4.5 ish. I don't think it would have been a 4-star, but maybe a 4.5. But yeah, I just don't like how that hex situation was handled. And our last 4-star is going to be A Dark and Secret Magic by Wallace Kinney. This is a fall time book for sure. It just gives all of the fall vibes. This is a witchy story. We have our main character who is a hedge witch, and the love interest is like a necromancer, maybe. Did I make that up? Something like dark and shadowy or something like that. And so, yeah, we just follow them through little cute things like jack-o'-lantern carving competitions and fall festivals, and like decorating for Halloween, but like to the extreme. And I just thought it was really cute. It was fun. There was like a darker element to it that I wasn't expecting, but I enjoyed that storyline as well. And it's kind of a mystery ish, where there's a mystery you're trying to solve, because our main character's mother basically told her she was going to be a hedge witch, which isn't common because there aren't a lot of hedge witches, and usually the person gets to choose their own they get to choose what they want to be. And so she is trying to figure out why she didn't necessarily get that choice. And some things come out, you know and I had a fun time with this. It was a quick read. It was very vibey. And I thought the romance was cute. And there's a cat named Merlin. Like, you know, And friends, we are almost done. We only have 2 books left, and they are my shining star 5 stars of this wrap up. So, the first one that I would like to talk about is A Mastery of Monsters by LaSalle Samberry. This book, it was everything for me. It was long. Now look, she long, but I thoroughly enjoyed every page. I thought this was a very unique story, and the way that she talked about what monsters actually are and who the monsters are. Like, yes, you need to read this book. August Black is me. I feel like LaSalle kind of like somehow knows me, even though she lives in Canada and I'm not in Canada. It was very hard, and also like, but in a good way. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, just kind of seeing a mirror, because I like August and I think so much alike and have had a lot of the same experiences. But anyway, I really enjoyed this. And Virgil, Oh my god. First of all, like the name Virgil is so cute, but then he's just like a little grandpa with his sweaters and his books and his glasses, and I'm just a fan, and I'm ready for the second book to come out because I need to know. I need to know. And if anybody tries to hurt August, they're going to have to see me. And that's on period. And the last book of this wrap up, friend. I am obsessed. I am obsessed. I am screaming, crying, throwing up. Sweet Heat, there are no words, but there are words. Kiki and Malachi. Kiki and Malachi. Like, this is one of my favorite books that I have ever read. Ever. Like, it's so beautifully written. And there are moments where I just like got lost in this. And look, Bolu made me have to Bolu is making me have to say that A Second Chance Romance is my favorite book. And like what? Like, you know how goofy I sound telling y'all I hate Second Chance Romance, and it's only for one of my favorite books of all time, and definitely one of my favorite books of 2025 to be A Second Chance Romance. But you know what? I don't even care how I sound because this book is top tier, amazing. Like grown Kiki and Malachi, I cannot. I can't. I live for it. Like, it's just all the emotions that I felt. This book almost made me cry, and that's saying a lot because I don't be crying in books, but like to make my eyes water, bruh. Like, I'm obsessed. Get ready to be tired of hearing me talk about this book because that's what's about to happen. Like, I love everything about this book. The only thing I didn't love though, like, is that the chapters were long as heck, like 30 and 40 pages long. Blue, what you thinking? But I don't even care. I don't even care. Like, every word was needed, and I'm just so obsessed with this book and Kiki and Kai, and I, this is my baby. Okay. I will not accept any criticism about this book ever. And that's it. That's all. We're done. We made it. That is my wrap up for September and October. We read some bangers. There were some very disappointing books as well, but it's okay. It's just how the reading goes sometimes. If you have read any of these books, let me know down in the comments what you thought about them. And also, if you have any recommendations for me based on what I thought of these books, drop them in the comments below as well. Thank you for staying to the end of this video. Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing, anything that you do to support me and my channel. It is very much greatly appreciated. I hope you have the best day that you possibly can. Remember to take care of yourself, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.